One of Marley's most powerful and political conscious albums gets the deluxe audiophile treatment twice. But what version actually delivers a true vibration? Is it the expansive 45 RPM cut, or is it the more soulful and cohesive 33? I tell you what, let's get into it and find out. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Louis V, and your host of Vinyl Latte, your source of vinyl related news, reviews, and interview. And today we're going to be diving deep into Rastaman Vibration by Bob Marley and the Wailers. And this is a record that blends political messages with some of the smoothest, most infectious reggae rhythms Bob ever recorded. And this one holds a really special place in the Marley catalog. Released in 1967, it was his first album to break the top 10 in the US and remains a standout both lyrically and sonically. So, how does the UHQR treatment from Analog Productions handle it? And more importantly, how does this 45 RPM edition cut across four sides compare to the single disc 33 RPM? Now, if you're wondering, and if you're thinking, you're right. On paper, the 45 RPM should offer more detail, better dynamics, and lower distortion. That's absolutely true. But let's be honest, with Marley and reggae in general, it's not just about the sound, it's about the feel. So I took my time with both pressings, multiple sessions, and here's what I heard. I'm going to get into the sound of the 45 in just a minute, but I want to spend just a second to talk on something that I talked about on the Exodus review. And if you haven't seen my Exodus review on the new UHQR 45 RPM, I'm going to go ahead and put the link of that in the description below. But for those that are maybe this is the first video you're watching, I'm going to kind of talk about the same thing I talked about on the last version. You're buying 100 and this is $125, and it comes in this kind of cardboard box, which is a clamshell approach. Let me tell you something, I'm not so much of a fan of this approach. First off, it's a little bit annoying to get open. I'm struggling as I do it here on camera. You kind of have to finagle it to get open, and then even when you do, it takes up so much real estate just to open up. This is what you need to open. And you got to remember, this will be filled with your records, your ads, your liner notes, and your album cover. And speaking of album cover, guys, $125 for two LPs. And look at this. Look, do you see that? This is what you get. Look, I have bought a $20 record cut from GZ that has a better jacket than this, whatever the heck this thing is. It is literally, I mean, I don't even know what to do here. I think it's a couple things. I think that first off, I don't even know who folded this. They must have been on strike that day. The second thing is like, really? You're a premium brand, dude. You create records for $60 called the Atlantic 75 that has jackets better than this. And crap, man, you have the Bluesville versions that you do with Crafts for $30 that has a better jacket than this crap. I'm gonna tell you guys, for $150, I'm really disappointed in this, and I don't like the clamshell. I really, honest to gosh, I don't like the clamshell. I know they got away from this design, and I know a lot of people complained about this design because it took up a lot of space in somebody's collection. I get it. That was the number one complaint. But guys, let's do a little bit of comparison here. It is not much that you're saving here. You're not saving more than a couple centimeters, okay? You're not saving much to deal with that crap that you have to pull out, unwrap if you have that in an outer cover. And then, by the way, if this is in your wall, how genius is that? The wooden dowel thing is just awesome, and I know people don't like it. They're like, oh, I don't like the wooden dowel. Oh, it takes up so much room. Oh, it doesn't go with the rest of my collection. Really? Really? You're telling me this little cardboard thing you like better with this crappy cover? I'm sorry, guys. I hate to be so passionate, but I do feel like sometimes we get taken advantage of as buyers. And there's not a lot of honesty out there, I think, in the YouTube world, that tells you how's it is. Because a lot of people, they get records from AP, they get records from Acoustic Sounds, and they're not gonna tell you how it is. I gotta tell you for $150, I'm not that crazy about the packaging. Other people won't care. They're gonna say, "Hey, man, how's the sonics?" That's what I care about because I bought the record to listen to, and ultimately, I'm never gonna look at that cover, and that's fine because this is what's gonna go on your shelf, and I get that. I get that. It's the cover is gonna be buried in this monstrosity of a box that I hate. But for some people, they like that. They like the clamshell. They like clams. Maybe they like seafood. I don't know, but they like it. The real question comes down to how does it sound? So we're going to tackle that real quick, and let's start with the 45. The 45 version starts off, I gotta say, impressively. On positive vibration, the bass is immediate, it's deep, and I gotta say, man, it's almost overpowering. Bob's vocals are dead in the center and clear, but the low end at times competes for dominance. The soundstage feels wide of roughly about, I don't know, about 140 degrees with really decent layering. And then you get into roots rock reggae, and this tightens things up a bit. The bass is still kind of prominent in the mix, but it's a little bit more controlled. Bob stays clear in the mix, and the drums snap with a punch and clarity that I really, really did like. However, the horn section, that felt a little bit held back, almost like it was dialed down a notch, and I kind of wish it was popped up a little bit more in the mix. I really want to hear the horns. There was good instrumental separation overall, but I feel like the track is engaging, which is a good thing. I don't know, I just wish it was a little bit more dynamic in a sense. I really wanted to hear the horns. Onwards, you get to Johnny Was, and the low end sort of settles in. It feels more natural. You get a good space and separation here. The keyboards sit perfectly within the mix, and there's nothing that feels muddy. It's a really good track. And Cry to Me features room feeling percussion. Oh my gosh, that just really has this realism that you have to feel, you have to experience to really understand what I'm saying here, guys. It's truly an experience. If anybody's watching this, if you're a drummer or you like drums or you like percussion, you would really love this track the way that it sounds. And Bob's back in front of the mix, which is where he belongs, and the dynamics are truly solid. On Who the Cat Fit, things get especially immersive. The groove is tight and the track feels rhythmic and is spot on. The I3s add ambiance rather than steal and focus, and it creates this like textured, dreamlike sound field. This track in particular had my foot tapping the entire time, which is what you kind of want when you're listening to reggae. Am I wrong? You want your body moving. Even if you're reviewing, you want your body into the groove. And if you're not bouncing in your seat, even if it's like this, or your foot's not tapping to the rhythm, there's a problem. But I had that experience here, and I'm so grateful that I did. One thing that really stood out was Rat Race. Now, sounds here noticeably different from the rest of the album, and it's just not the mix here. Bob's vocals feel compressed. It's a little bit raw, almost lo-fi. And it turns out actually a reason for that. This track was reportedly recorded at a separate session and added late in the album's production. And it's likely a different mic or vocal chain was used for this recording. But here's the thing, in this pressing, you can really hear the difference. So whether that's intentional or just circumstantial, the difference is striking. And honestly, I think, quite frankly, it works. I didn't have a problem with it. The urgency in Bob's voice matches the message perfectly. And throughout the album, the 45, I gotta say, offers punch, depth, and clarity. It's dynamic, it's clean, it's a quiet vinyl. You got a nice quiet black floor, and you can spotlight the instruments easily. But I gotta say something else, guys. There's something that just felt, I don't know, slightly off emotionally. The groove was present, but the feeling wasn't always there. I don't know. I didn't know until I dropped the 33 on the table. So let's talk about that for a moment here. The 33 RPM. Now, this came out a couple years ago. It's out of print. It's hard to find. It's expensive. I get it. But it's what we can compare. So switching to the 33, I got to say, man, it was eye opening. So right out the gate, positive vibration delivers more cohesion. The bass is still deep, but it doesn't dominate, and Bob's voice is rounded. It's natural. It's actually full of life. And the I3s have more presence, and the feel is just integrated rather than ambient. Roots rock reggae continues the upward swing. Everything feels tighter, but not in a constrained way at all means. I don't mean that, but I mean it more in like a musical, intentional way. The guitar is crisp, the horns have clarity and bite, and the vocals are dynamically balanced. By Johnny Was, I was fully locked in. The layer percussion was clear and detailed, and you can really sense Bob's phrasing and emphasis. There are background effects that pop in and out with almost this like three-dimensional feel. The stereo width opens to like 170 degrees, and you really feel wrapped in sound. War is also standout. Bob's vocals just sit with gravitas. The mix is impactful and also articulate. You can hear the room sort of echo, and there's this layered depth, and it gives the track a sense of scale that works with the message. The I3s just don't support Bob, they shine. And by the time you get to Crazy, Ballhead, and Night Shift, my body, I gotta say, guys, was moving without thinking. I actually got myself caught in the music a few times because my head was nodding, my foot was tapping. I mean, this pressing just groove. And I had to like snap back to reality here and say, yo, hey, Louis V, man, you're not here to groove out to some reggae music. You're here doing a review. You got to put some thoughts to paper. And I got to say, guys, by the final track, Rat Race, everything just regained balance. It felt maybe a little bit off on the 45, but this track really ended strong. It was musical and soulful, and I gotta say, I hate to say this, I really do, but the 33 is a musical experience. It's not just a sonic one, guys. It's not trying to like wow you in detail. It invites you in. And on the album that's kind of like spiritually rich as Rastaman Vibration, I think that matters. So yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I think, I would like to ask the audience that maybe has experienced both pressings, like which one would you pick? But my thoughts is this. I think the 45 UHQR Brassman Vibration is technically impressive. I mean, when I first listened to it, I was really impressed. It's got great dynamics, low noise floor, wide staging. It really delivers on the promise of an audiophile. Finally, I feel like I got my value of $125 back in the pressing. But after listening to their 33, I gotta say this is the one I'm gonna be playing. And I think when I think about why, I think it's because it brought back the vibration. It brought the rhythm, the feeling, the life. It had soul. And that's something the 45, for all his technical prowess, just didn't deliver on my system. I think here's the best way I can describe it. And I feel like this is true from Exodus and also Rastaman. And I will tell you now, I think Rastaman is a heck of a lot better pressing than Exodus. I think that the 45 feels like an audiophile demo, and the 33 feels like Bob's in a room. And I think if you own the 45, I think you got a great pressing here. There's no question about it. But if you can find a 33, which is sadly out of print, we mentioned it earlier, and is quite frankly bonkers on the aftermarket. But I do think this is the version that really does Marley the most justice. And if I can go kind of saying why I think this is, I think the 45 so much focus on detail and trying to build a really dynamic record that honestly is almost overpowered in bass, thinking that people probably don't have a very good that's buying this record that don't have like good speakers that can do really low end well. It's overpowered. So therefore, if you have like a typical, bookshelf speaker, or you don't really have a high end system, it's going to sound great. You're going to be like, oh my God, there's so much bass. I never heard this much bass in a record before. But if you have a system that's sensitive to that, that's detailed enough, that's resolving enough, you're going to notice that, A, it's too detailed. And when you get too detailed, it becomes too analytical. And if you get too analytical, you lose the music side of it. There's no musicality to it. There's no feeling to it. And from a bass standpoint, it's too much. It's overpowering because you have a system that's dialed in that can represent bass properly. So you don't need somebody to go in the EQ and boost the bass up just so you can hear it. It's there, it's present. They didn't do that on the 33, guys. The 33 is mixed well. It's great. It's balanced. The bass folds in nicely. It's still deep. It's got deep bass. It was one of my records that I would show people off of, like, when people said, "Oh, there's no bass on vinyl." I'll be like, "Hold on, let me pull out Rastaman Vibration 33 or a UHQR. Let me play this for you. There's bass into it." And it was balanced. It sounded natural. And we lose that with, I think, over mastering on the 45. Probably because, and I hate to say this, because I know there's people out here watching this that that will say, "Well, that's not my system," and you're right. But I think they overmastered it because majority of the folks buying their records do not have a $100,000 plus reference system to listen to it. They have a modest system at home, a reasonable system at home with reasonable speakers, and I think that's gonna come out okay. And if that's you, that's great. If you love this pressing, that's okay. But when you have a very resolving system that can really make things sound real if it's mastered right, I gotta say, the 45 is not the record I'm gonna be pulling out. What I'm gonna be pulling out is the 33. It's still my definitive press of Rastaman Vibration. So kudos to Analog Productions for making this, the 33, because this is still the best dang version I've ever heard of this record. I just wish I could have said the same about the 45 and maybe retired the 33 from my wall for a little while. So let me know in the comments if you heard either pressing. And if you did, what's your take? And if this is kind of like head-to-head vinyl shootout is your thing, make sure you subscribe, right? It's free to do that, and you really help me out a lot. We've got a lot coming up, a lot of reviews, a lot of interviews, a lot of things coming up in the vinyl world. So I think you're going to have some real surprises. You just need to click that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next video.